it echoing for anyone else? No. Okay.
Nope.
Just me. Oh, and it stopped. Wonder what that was about. That was weird. It might be. You know what? Maybe it's this weird split screen thing happening here, which is new. So hi
I turned
everyone.
that off. I can't look at two different. No.
I think I have to do that as well.
Ooh.
So, yeah. So, hi everyone. It's
Hello.
Friday, November the 14th at 2 in the afternoon Pacific time. I'm Kipp Davis. I'm a Hebrew Bible scholar and a specialist in early Judaism and the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm joined, as always, by Vishanti. And we're very excited today because our mutual friend, Dr. Dan McClellan, has agreed to join us for a couple of hours to hang out, to watch a video. How's it going, Dan?
I'm doing well. Busy as ever, but looking forward to my version of Disneyland a week from today. Yes,
that's right.
SBL in lovely Boston.
I think we're all excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Indeed.
My first SBL was in Boston.
Was it?
It was, yes, it was either 99 or 2000. It was so long ago. John Strugno was there. It was that long ago. Right?
My first was 2007 in San Diego. And then, what's that?
I wasn't at that one.
You weren't at that? I was, I think 2008 was in Boston and I wasn't at that one. And then 2009 was in New Orleans. And that was the first time I actually presented. Yeah, which was a great time.
Cool. Oh, I laughed out loud while reading your notebook when you called the British Museum the happiest place on earth. So that's a pretty great place too. And don't forget to extend your pinky when you're drinking your tea.
You don't extend it. It's just an emergent feature of having a pinched.
Is it?
Like handle? Yes.
I don't know. It doesn't happen for me so all that naturally. So, yes, I should probably say something about because there were some questions about this when we started. There's 2 video links for this, at least on my channel. There's 2 video links for this stream because there is this this new feature through StreamYard where we can do multiple aspect ratios, so you can watch this either vertically or horizontally. If you're not happy with your current view, vertical or horizontal, the link for the other one is actually in the video description, so you can just click on it and go watch it however you prefer. I'm all about giving the people what they want and maybe what they don't. So so there we go. Yeah.
Vertical video is an abomination unto the Lord.
I think so too. The good news about this, though, is that it looks like in the near future we'll be able to stream directly from StreamYard to TikTok, without me ever having to deal with the cesspool that is TikTok. So I would be happy about that. You've heard of this thing called TikTok?
Did you know?
Haven't you, Dan?
Yeah.
Vine is coming back.
Wow.
Vine is coming back. I am so happy.
Crazy.
And they will not allow AI content.
Oh, cool.
That is good. That's very good. All right. So we are here, and because we have a hard out at 4 o'clock, we're gonna watch a video today that came across my feed a couple weeks ago, last week, from our friend Gavin Ortland. Who is this? Is this on my channel or is this? No, never mind. That's you. Okay. I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing here. It's all good. So Dan and I have encountered Gavin plenty of times. I think you've reacted to tons of his stuff already, I think, haven't you, Dan?
A few things, yeah.
So we looked at a video of his back when we were still doing the Diablo critics some time ago. Really didn't make him happy, but this happens, right? So just by way of introduction, Gavin, thanks. My apologies for that. Gavin made this video about prophecies about the Messiah, something that people call messianic prophecies. I have some issues with the term just because, it's I don't know if it's properly a thing. I know people understand it to be a thing, but as a specialist in early Judaism, as somebody who reads the Hebrew Bible very carefully, it's what we're seeing are texts that people at various points in time considered to be very important, sometimes prophetic, and treated them that way. In effect, you could do it with anything that you read in your Hebrew Bible. So it just some of these texts have achieved this label among some communities. So yeah, but Gavin made this video. He thinks that this is a great argument for proving the actual resurrection of Jesus. So I
Okay. Sure, bud.
it's interesting. It's interesting. So I think I think
Say it with me all at once, chat. All right, let's see it.
Very nice. So
You
just
ready?
by way of introduction, I just get this out of the way. Gavin, for those who are unfamiliar, is a PhD from Fuller Theological Seminary, graduated in 2016 in historical theology. He wrote his dissertation entitled The Doctrine of Heaven in Anselm of Canterbury's Proslogion. He's the president of Truth Unites, an apologetics ministry. He's a theologian in residence at Emmanuel Church in Nashville and a visiting professor of historical theology at Phoenix Seminary. As I continue to remind Gavin, he's not a biblical scholar. Doesn't seem to matter to him or many people for that matter. But, that's what we do here. And that's why you're here, Dan. So, all right. So let's find out what he has to say.
Okay.
In this video, I'm going to argue for three things. Number one, the Bible has many prophecies about future events, especially the coming of a Messiah. Number two, the most plausible explanation of at least some of these prophecies, and all of them cumulatively, is a supernatural one. And number three, this provides some evidential weight for the truth of Christianity. Now, there's lots of different kinds of prophecies like this in the Bible. We're going to focus on messianic prophecies, which I think are the most compelling.
That was, yeah. Any thoughts so far?
I think until you can actually quantify probability for supernatural events, I don't think you can ever really say we've crunched the numbers and a supernatural event is the most likely explanation. Like, and you can't I think I have only ever seen people run from the notion that the probabilities can be quantified, and so I'm just already, it strikes me as something that's not actually going to be making a hard case. It's just going to appeal to feelings that the audience already has, which is bizarre because Gavin's going to kind of qualify a bunch of things and say, well, we're not going to do this argument over here because if you're not already kind of convinced by this, then that's not going to strike you as very convincing. But that must undergird every inch of the entire video for the notion that a supernatural explanation is the most likely one to hold. So already it's just not great.
It reminds me, I don't know if
funny that he says that the best explanation for some of them is this thing, but cumulatively it's this other thing. And I'm like, dude, this is going to be just prophetic pareidolia and put your Jesus glasses on. And well, if you read it this way, this totally refers to this thing. and it's not going to have any awareness of, hey, maybe these narratives were written with certain things in mind to fit those texts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
No,
reminds
those
me
just happened on their own.
I don't know if you guys saw this. Apologia, I think made a video about this, but my friend Than Christopoulos, who works for Inspiring Philosophy, wrote an article defending a Bayesian analysis of the resurrection in an effort to show its historical plausibility. Many problems with this article, but no, the most glaring, I think, was his choice of assigning the probability to a resurrection as 1 in a million.
Okay.
That is enthusiastic.
So that means
that is one of the calculations of all time.
Vish, you live in LA. How many people?
Close-ish.
Based on the probabilities, how many people could we have expected to?
I mean, the
have
population of
resurrected from the
LA
dead?
County alone is more than most other counties in the nation.
So yeah,
Should be dozens.
And that's one of the things.
There's
Bayesian,
several million plural people in LA County. So if he's saying it's 1 in a million, then we have about
1 in a million.
a handful of folks here who just maybe they rose from the dead.
Could be. Let us know in the chat. All right. Were you gonna say something, or we press it?
Just gonna say, yeah, the Bayesian analysis. You're gonna get out of it what you put into it, and if you are required to just arbitrarily come up with a number, you're gonna pick a number that gets out of it what you need. It's just that's some silliness.
Yeah.
Yep.
1 in a million.
All right. Shall we keep going?
Yes. Let's continue.
This kind of prophecy is very difficult to turn into a kind of coercive argument where someone who's not already sympathetic is going to be dragged over to your side, because you have to do so much work.
Well, it's not just so much work. It's you have to assert things that aren't supported by the data. And a lot of his argument here is going to entirely gloss over the scholarly consensus when he appeals to things like Psalm 22 and Zechariah 12 and Isaiah 53.
That means around 117,000 people have been resurrected throughout human history. To make Jesus' resurrection not very notable. So, thanks, Hayden.
Dan, your mic's a little hot. If you can maybe notch that down a little. I think the chat was picking you up pretty hot. Anyway.
Is this a little better?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
here we go again.
Have to do work on issues of dating and textual transmission. So you have to prove when it's written, and you have to argue against textual interpolations. That's really difficult to do. Furthermore, the specificity of the prophecy is not so exact as to cast off any suspicions of a non-supernatural explanation.
Gavin, if it's not that precise and you have trouble dating it and it's not really coercive to people who aren't already on your side, then what's that saying? But isn't this supposed to be like slam dunk evidence? Not just, well, I mean, if you squint at it and you kind of run the math this way, and well, ignore that part, but if you carry the 4 and then you tweak this text that way, and like, my man.
And I've only gone through about half of his video, and only once, and pretty cursorily, if that's a word. But I think he's talking here about why he's not talking about like all prophecies. He's going to zero in on just a handful of them, because for most of them, that's the case where it's like, oh, it gets pretty squishy. And so, but he's going to do, for the ones he does focus on, exactly what he says is the reason he's not going to do all the other ones.
Oh, 100%.
I need to show this because I laughed really, really hard at it. Reminds me of the greatest tweet. Duke Lito. Can any of you tell me what the biggest number is? Gurney Halleck. I don't know, 22, 23. Cooper Howitt. Eyes rolling back in his head. 1 million, my lord. Good.
So often these guys just continue to miss what to me is sort of the most obvious thing here, which is this: all of this only works if you're going to straight out of the gate accept the gospel narratives of the life of Jesus as just straightforward historical accounts of everything that happened. Faithful,
But and he pays lip service to that though.
a little bit, yeah.
He's gonna say, well, what about the gospel authors intentionally writing these stories as fulfillments of the prophecy? I don't know if he gives a reason for why we shouldn't, why that's not a more likely explanation than the supernatural, but he does make it sound like he's tagging all these bases.
Well, it can't be non-supernatural because they don't like it. I mean, that's just you being skeptical. Like, if it's too close, then you say it was written afterward. But if it's too vague, you're like, well, that's not specific enough. You skeptical atheists.
According to I haven't heard from Wes Huff in a long time, even though I've responded to a couple of videos of his, until somebody pointed out that on a video a couple days ago, he said, "I'm one of the most dogmatic apologists there is," and somebody was like, "Are we talking about the same Dan?" And he was like, "He's an apologist for skepticism. He appeals to the consensus even when it's not appropriate." And
God. Oh my God. You're a skeptic, just like that Apostle Paul, Dan.
Yeah, but
the very skeptical Apostle Paul.
I am the very model of a skeptical apologist. Apologist of skepticism.
Y'all, I'm gonna have to find a way to buy a red clown nose so that if he goes to ETS and I pass him on my way in, I can just go honk honk honk.
Honk 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 honk.
Honk 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 honk.
I hope he's there.
He's gonna chicken out. He doesn't want to go to SBL because they're going to appeal to skepticism and scholarship when it's not appropriate.
It's only appropriate if you're talking about Mormons or Muslims.
Yeah.
Then skepticism away. But
you can do that. You can do that shit at ETS though.
So. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's right.
I saw somebody posted a.
Somebody posted
a.
I mean,
go
David
ahead.
Fox not banned from ETS.
No.
Yeah.
Somebody posted their session for ETS, and there was a woman's name on it, and I was gonna be like, I didn't know they let women present at ETS, but I thought better of that.
Ba-da-ching.
Literally, you know how many people have probably said that and just not done it in the next company. Okay, need to get through this.
Yeah.
Already.
The strongest case for fulfilled prophecy, and the one that's at the heart of Christianity, and I think is more useful in the kind of apologetics mode, as opposed to just building up and edifying those who already believe the Bible, is...
Can we pause here?
That's what apologetics is.
That's what apologetics is. First and foremost, it is just there to make people who already believe feel better about already believing. And it performs engagement with non-believers because that's necessary in order to make the believers feel better. It has always been a performance, which is... Do you know... Kipp, do you know a dude named Chris Cornthwaite? I think is
yeah. I've encountered a few of his videos.
Yeah, I just watched and somebody said Dan is clearly an apologist for the brown and yellow Wolverine costume. The data support that.
I'm with Dan on this one. No question.
Anyway, I watched a video of his earlier today. Somebody linked to it, and I was like, "This looks like fun." And it was basically an explanation of how apologetics from the 19th century has just been a corrupt institution. And I thought it was a great discussion. I've never heard of this dude before, but he's up in Canada, so I figured you might.
Yeah,
I could tell by the accent. I was like, "This dude's Canadian," and looked him up.
We did a we did a response
getting
to an
tired of this dude.
Alice and
Sorry.
Childers video last week,
yeah.
and but she had on a guy by the name of Doug Grudius, who's written a big apologetics book, and he came on to complain for like 5 minutes about one of CJ's videos. So it was interesting. So yeah, CJ's got some good stuff.
All right, cool.
So
Okay, I guess
Good to
we'll
go?
keep going.
In messianic prophecy, though even here we'll state our argument abductively and modestly as I think the evidence warrants. Now, before diving in, let me state the overall appeal here more colloquially. Put it like this: the Bible reads like an intriguingly coherent story, kind of like a Charles Dickens novel, where all the various subplots ultimately come together and merge into harmony and resolution at the end. I remember reading, what was it? Tale of Two Cities back in 2010. And that's how it is. You're like, all these different things come together. It's very organized. The Bible itself feels like that. So we know the Bible comes in two basic
why could
parts.
that
There's
be?
the longer Hebrew section that is more.
This hurts.
Yeah, well, and this is one of the things that's promoting a lot of this is he's going to refer to this as the Christian perspective. But once you acknowledge what you're doing is looking at these texts that are not part of Christianity through a Christian perspective, you're acknowledging that you're imposing a unifying framework.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be surprising if you impose a unifying framework upon texts and they suddenly feel unified. You have made them unified. You have imposed that framework upon them. So, and the feels, the verisimilitudinous of their unity, just strikes me as this. Intuitively, this has how it seems, which is really just saying, as long as you bring these interpretive lenses to the text will match what the interpretive lenses demand. And it just kind of, in my opinion, it gives away the store. It just betrays that this is all presuppositional.
It's a manufactured way of
anthology.
looking at the text too, because these texts were collected in the order in which they were by various like the product. I'm becoming more fond of saying this. Like the Protestant Bible is so late on the scene.
Oh yeah,
that it just. But that's the narrative that they're talking about. The one that traces the one where the Old Testament ends in Malachi and picks up in the New Testament, right? But that's not. It reads that way because somebody in the 14th, 15th century, whatever it was, decided this is a good way to put these texts together.
Yeah.
Let's do it like this.
I've said this before other places, but the Bible's an anthology. It's not one single narrative. This is like saying that there's an overarching single unifying narrative to the Twilight Zone or Creep Show. There's not.
Yeah.
They're morality tales and lessons and things like that, and
erotic poetry.
Ironic, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is so frustrating. Let's keep going. God.
Concrete, more narratival, what we typically call today, at least Christians call the Old Testament. Then there's this more compact Greek counterpart, what we call the New Testament, a little bit more systematic, full of letters, etc. This twofold.
What does he mean by more systematic? Because it doesn't have any kind of systematic law framework. It's just, term. I mean, we kind of know about the background here, but throw it all out. We're gonna just do something sort of kind of new, but not really. But also, yeah.
Well, I think the idea is just that the New Testament is shorter and it's more focused on Jesus and on his life, and then the life of the church after Jesus. And so I think that's the sense in which he's talking about it as more compact and systematic. It's not wisdom stuff over here and poetry over here and narrative over here and all this stuff. But it still seems to. Go ahead.
Sorry. My
Oh,
earbuds have a slight delay. So.
So I think that's what he's referencing by the more compact and systematic. Although there is contradiction within the New Testament as well, so it's not all that systematic.
Here we go. I need to be petty for a second. That's not true at all. There's one overarching story, which is about covenant creation, covenant transgression, and then reconciliation back to God for His creation. Okay, so where does the entire book of Song of Songs fit? Because that's basically just smut or erotica. Where's that fitting in exactly?
And Esther, that
and
is
Esther,
not so much. Doesn't talk about God at all.
Doesn't mention God.
Yeah, there are all these kinds of attempts to try to impose this macro narrative arc on the Hebrew Bible that never work. They always are ignoring many texts and then have to massage a bunch of other texts in certain directions. I would say it's more about an ethnic group than this Testament. Oh, I didn't get to it in time. Oh, it's automatic.
Sorry. The Testament is automatic. It's hydromatic. Systematic. It's greasy lightning.
Oh gosh.
No, it's not.
This is going to go to the New Covenant.
It's literally not.
No.
No, it's not.
It's pretty hot.
Okay.
Maybe some more
Listen,
people will go back to church. If that
yeah, it's enough to make grown adults blush. So
yeah. What is oh shoot. What is the sorry, there's a book that came out 5-8 years ago that is about, and it's a play on words where it is substitutes text for sex. Oh gosh.
Oh man.
Why have I forgotten the name of this text? Oh, Unprotected Texts.
Yes.
Phenomenal book.
Oh yeah.
About sexuality in the Bible. Jennifer Knust. And the subtitle is The Bible's Surprising Contradictions About Sex and Desire. That should be required reading for anyone who wants to talk about what's going on in the Song of Songs, what's going on with the sexual ethic of the Hebrew Bible, and the myth that it's all pointing in the same direction.
I'm sorry. This might get you demonetized, but it's too funny not to post. If Song of Songs is about Jesus in the church, then I guess the church is really good at giving sloppy top. Now that we've scandalized all the evangelicals out of the viewing, now we can proceed. Y'all ready?
Yep.
Oh yes.
All right.
Structure of the Christian view of Scripture entails a kind of chronology that distinguishes Christianity from other religions. So other religious texts like the Quran don't have this sort of unfolding over time, and there's some advantage to this from a Christian perspective.
Does he think the Quran was written all at once? And all of the literature, like the Hadiths and all that stuff, does he think that was just written in one sitting?
I just don't know that it matters. Like,
I know this should be rhetorical, but it's one of those things where I should set a timer until an apologist gets to Islamophobia. You could practically set a clock by it, but
yeah, that's fair.
You know,
there is coherence to this chronological unfolding of divine revelation. Specifically, the movement from Old Testament to New Testament is something like the movement from promise to fulfillment, and we hold that Jesus of Nazareth is the one that is predicted in at least some of these texts.
Cool opinion,
Interpreting prophecies is not like doing math.
Do you want me to skip to a different part?
Maybe just jump ahead to 322. Let's go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is his
Let's start by just giving a snapshot.
Yes,
Sorry.
a snapshot of the messianic trajectory of the Old Testament.
Chat's moving so fast.
Muslims will feed your baby.
Burn. And if you, like me and many other people in chat, if you know any Muslims, you're like, yeah, absolutely, that tracks. No hesitation.
My wife is fond of reminding me that when she was an LDS missionary in Austria, she said she got looked down on and mocked and derided an awful lot by Germans, but the people who she could always rely on to be kind to her were Muslim immigrants.
That's right.
It's awesome.
Yep. Correct.
Wow. And terrible all at once.
I mean, it should be something that, most white Westerners are embarrassed by, but, this ain't a perfect world.
Yes.
Of Old Testament messianic expectation. Number one, the story of the Old Testament is one of unfulfilled expectation. If you want to summarize,
It's just
Don't bring up the
incomplete.
Perusia.
Story?
Don't bring up the Perusia though.
No.
Wait, what
No,
again? Can I
that's
just
right.
wait? The story? What is the story?
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean that's really the whole marketplace of Old Testament theology, right? And why there's not many who do it anymore. just because you're not there's not a thread here. There's many.
Are you Vish, are you laughing at the Song of Songs comment there?
Yes,
Yeah,
that as well as the
I was gonna say, are we fulfilled? Is this satisfied? Is that what the Old Testament is unsatisfied? It is anticlimactic.
Listen, the story of the Old Testament is
Is the story of
brutal.
edging. So
You're edging,
Mhm.
yeah, and you know what? That makes sense for Christianity because Jesus has been edging all of his people for 2,000 years.
oh, Jesus is gonna come. He's gonna come.
He's gonna.
Not yet. Not yet.
He's gonna.
Soon.
He's gonna. You just wait.
Yep. He's at the door.
Yeah.
All the signs are
Man,
there.
we are super irreverent today.
is the message of what Christians call
We
the Old
blame Dan.
Testament, what we would order, most of us, Genesis to Malachi. There's this sense of forward-looking expectation. The basic plot.
He wouldn't include the Apocrypha in that, would he? I know the
Well,
answer.
no,
funny
there
that,
are only
right?
66 books. I mean, come
Yeah.
on. And this is again, it is just reaffirming. This only works if you presuppose a Christian worldview and a Christian interpretive lens. So he's preaching to the choir.
And a very specific Christian canon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Of this set of documents is that the Creator God is choosing one nation, Israel, to bless all the other nations of the world. And that starts right out of the gate with Genesis 12 and the calling of Abram. The first 11 chapters are setting the stage, and then the narrative really picks up with Abraham in Genesis 12. That's what the story's basically about.
Except that Christianity went, yeah, but that's us now. And they just take it and run away. And that's why I think it's silly for more than one reason. But they have to uphold like the period accurate ethnocentrism just so that they can go, yeah, but that doesn't count anymore because of reasons. It belongs to us now, and then they should take it and run.
Unless you need to defend Christian nationalism, in which case the only option you have is to appeal to the ethnocentric passages from the Hebrew Bible and overlook the obliteration of those boundaries in the Christian gospel.
Well, see, when we do ethnocentrism, it's okay. But when somebody else does it, well, no, that's unacceptable.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's so frustrating.
But the strange thing is, it doesn't really happen, except to a very small degree. The promises don't really come true. So there's this.
Well, they didn't do their job, so we get to do it now. I mean, this is where he's going with it. If he says it's unfulfilled and it's, hasn't achieved what it set out to do, but Jesus did it and the church did it. It's like, dude, I think I'm exhausted by these arguments because they hold no water. it's not internally consistent, which I don't know why I was expecting, but
You weren't. You really weren't.
you know, all right.
Sense of forward-looking expectation, from start to finish, from the proto-evangelium of Genesis 3:15, where a descendant of Eve will crush the head of the serpent, all the way to the
Point of
coming
order.
Elijah.
Yes, please.
Point of order. Genesis 3:15 is just an etiology for why people hate snakes.
No one's
It is-
crushing any heads in
Patriarchy's
that
a thing.
passage either.
Yeah, it's and what's funny is, like, you go into Paul is reading the Septuagint, which mistranslates the passage.
Mhm.
It says he will watch out for or look over his heel, and he will look over his head.
Yeah.
And so people will be like, well, Paul talks. I will point out that the serpent in the Garden of Eden is not Satan until after the New Testament is complete, and people will point to a part in Romans where he says God will place your enemies under your feet.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's about Genesis 3:15. It's like, no, because that's not what Paul thought Genesis 3:15 even said. So yeah, that is not the proto-evangelium.
Maybe by the time you get to the book of Revelation. But even there, like, and this is part of
that's
what's
the
so frustrating.
Leviathan. That's the Leviathan. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ay.
But this is what's so frustrating about so much of this too, is a lot of what apologists will point to as messianic prophecies, as fulfillments in Jesus, are things that, I mean, even the New Testament writers were not as explicit about this stuff.
Yeah.
They were, we'll get to Isaiah 53, but nobody, I mean, it seems clear that the gospel writers had this, rolling around in the background, but nobody comes right out and makes this connection.
Yeah.
Nobody does it. Yeah.
Okay. Shall I proceed?
Let's roll.
All the way to the coming of Elijah and the last two verses in Malachi at the end of the Old Testament, the palpable flavor of the Old Testament.
And also
So,
that
If
is a curated ending. That is the ending that Christians put at the end. So it is not that the Hebrew Bible culminates in this in its original iteration. It's that we rearranged it to make it culminate in that. So it's all manufactured.
Also, this is another thing, and I hate reading it in English, but if John the Baptist was said to be, the fulfillment of Elijah, or this coming in the spirit of Elijah or whatnot, where did he turn the hearts of the fathers to their children and the children to their fathers? Like, where did that happen actually? Because if you
are you
again,
talking
I know
about
this is me
lifetime of Elijah,
having
or
standards that are too high, but where did John the Baptist do that? And also the rest
yeah.
of that, like, paragraph in Malachi, this is where that's coming from, right? It says explicitly that he's going to turn them to the law of Moses, to the Torah. So I'm waiting on that.
Well, I think Matthew would have agreed that John the Baptist and Jesus both turned everybody to the law of Moses and then ratcheted up the law of Moses.
They sure
Yeah,
did.
I mean, I agree. That's what Matthew's the author of that would say. But it's funny because I know that on the days where Paul felt sort of Jewy, he may or may not agree, and on the rest of the days he'd be like, nah. He can't figure out which side he's on, but he's all things to all people, even himself.
Flavor of the Old Testament is forward-looking and expectant. Second, the nature of that forward-looking quality gradually hones in on one particular person who appears to be a royal figure or a king.
Well, then why at the end of Moses' life does he say, I will raise up a prophet like unto Moses, and not a king or a prince?
And you have the chapter before, Deuteronomy 17, is like any king that you choose And then Deuteronomy 18 is I interpret Deuteronomy 18, and I think this is probably the consensus view, but I could be wrong about this, as just saying any prophet that you have needs to satisfy these criteria. I don't think it's pointing to a specific single prophet so much as it's doing the same thing it's doing with the king in the previous chapter, just saying, and your prophets and your kings have to meet these criteria.
I've heard a lot of evangelicals, and that includes Messianics because they're evangelical Christians, say that the prophet like unto Moses, that's absolutely 100% Jesus. And I'm like, okay, but again, there's this whole idea of prophet and king and priest, and there's not a lot of times where prophets are kings.
But there
kings.
There are times when prophets, priests, and kings are all anointed. So,
well, if you're anointed, you're a Mashiach. Does that make you the Christos?
It makes Cyrus the Great the Christos.
Sure
does. Oh no!
For that matter.
This is one of those things why I hate reading in translation, because if you read that about, Cyrus, it's like, hey, if your translation doesn't use the exact phrasing that it uses for Messiah or Christ or whatever that it does there, then that person's not being honest. That team is not being honest with you.
Yeah.
So I just don't like it. So.
Yep.
Anyway, what were you saying, Kipp?
It doesn't matter. Keep going.
Oh, okay. All right.
That emerges pretty quickly right there in Genesis 49:10. Jacob is blessing his children. Numbers 24, with the prophecy of Balaam. There's this guy who's going to come. He's got a scepter. He looks royal. But more specifically, as you build up steam, this figure is revealed to be a Davidic king, a descendant of David. There are too many passages to cite about that, so I've just put up one example from Jeremiah 23.
Where did they call Jesus Adonai Sidkenu? Where did that happen?
Yeah, I think that's a Christian overlay on what Jesus is. But I think it's funny that he treats it as somehow significant that they were looking for a king who happened to be part of the Davidic line. Like, isn't that what they were always kind of leaning for?
Yeah. There's just this very strong undercurrent, right, throughout the biblical texts of this royal ideology.
Yeah.
By design, by virtue of how important, how crucial this was within the national zeitgeist, certainly among the Judeans, and then especially after the Assyrian destruction of the northern kingdom. This became so it's this is historically naive, Gavin, is just the way I would put this to him.
Well, and it's
that's another thing, is that Ezekiel doesn't say a descendant of David or someone from the house of David. He says David.
Yeah.
And I think that's also echoed in Hosea, but don't quote me on that. I remember it being in another prophet as well, but
and this is all mostly an outcome, in my opinion, of the fact that most of the Hebrew Bible was, if not written, at least edited from a Judean perspective, from a southern perspective, and it's about appropriating the Israelite identity, and about saying, no, ignore those successful Amorites. It was actually David, this warlord who had a little chiefdom in Jerusalem, who was the real champion of a golden age. We're going to make Judah great again, and that's the lens that overlays so much of the Hebrew Bible. So much. Obviously, the Davidic nature of the restored kingdom is kind of presupposed.
It's right in there.
Yeah. I mean, and that's something that you get a bigger picture of the more that you learn about the historical kingdom of Israel, because they had their own priesthood in Samaria and Shechem, I think. But there's also altars all over those lands that aren't in Jerusalem. And you have to figure out ways that those can be approved altars. So it's like, well, Abraham built this one, but he also built that one. And Jacob built this one, and Noah built one over here, and they're all approved. It's okay. It was fine at the time. We just, modified some stuff later on, and you can only do it in Judah now, and specifically Jerusalem. Everything else, no. And it's
even though we found full-blown temples in Arad and Tel Motzah, in the Southern Kingdom, but they'll just say, "Oh, that was the apostate."
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Those were the high places.
Yeah, no, those weren't approved. Those were the wrong kind because reasons.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
All right, we're trying.
Third, hope arises also in the Old Testament for a coming prophet who will be like Moses. You see that in Deuteronomy 18, as well as for a coming priest who will have a kind of perpetual role in God's house, priestly role.
And who fulfilled that in Samuel?
What do you? I'm not sure what you're getting at.
He's quoting the text where it says, "I will raise up."
I didn't see the. Oh yeah, right. No, yeah. That's
so who did that apply to?
It's
exactly.
Just Samuel.
What?
Crazy that, right? Yeah.
I can't believe.
So.
But I mean, it says now before I'm anointed forever, and that's like not forever. It has to be an eternal priest because forever means forever. It has to be eternal. Come on. Metaphors only work when you want them to.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned. Yeah.
Cool. And eventually those hopes, especially the priestly one, seem to somewhat converge with the Davidic hope. You see that in a few passages I'll put on screen. Jeremiah 33 is my favorite.
It's funny because Jesus isn't actually descended from David. I know that's inconvenient.
Or from a priestly line either.
Or from a priestly line. So, and he never offered any sacrifices whatsoever on earth. And people, I know that like some of the epistles are like, oh no, he went up to the heavenly temple and offered there, because he wasn't like an earthly priest. He was like the Melchizedek priesthood, and that's like way better and older. That's the OG priesthood, guys. It's like super better. But then he doesn't do it on earth, and I'm like, okay, so how are people supposed to know that he was a priest fulfilling all this if he was doing it in the heavenly temple? And then also the two conflicting genealogies for Jesus is one of the very first things that pulled me out of like a former like fundamentalist background, because I just sat down one day and I did the thing where I was like, I'm tired of all these skeptical people saying these things contradict, and you're like, I'm going to prove that it didn't. So I set up a spreadsheet and I just copied the names in the columns, and I was like, wait a second. Hang on. And then I flipped back to the original like lineages, or like the earlier, I should say, lineages. And I was like, why are they cutting people out? And then I was like, I did the apologetics things where it's like, oh, well, these were really bad examples and they were said to be, cursed or whatever. So of course you can cut them out. That's fine. But then I kept finding like weird names that didn't line up with anything, and like skip generations that also didn't make a lot of sense. And I was like, okay, something's going on here. And then,
Well, I love that even if you're just looking at Matthew, it's like 3 14 generation sets. Not really, because you gotta like, and you'll see people list it, and the first one ends with David, and then or one of them ends with David, and the next one begins with David, and it's like,
and you're like,
people wouldn't see that. Yeah, you're counting David twice. Like, well, we really like David.
Well, we were like David, and then another thing was, people said that, oh, well, that's Mary's lineage, but she's not even named in it.
Yeah. It's all made up.
Yeah, well, that's unwelcome nuance. So
Testament passage in all these respects, so many different strands coalesce there, like the Dickens novel, the subplots coalescing. But in some texts, it sure looks like the priest and the king are in fact the same guy. That's perhaps clearest in Psalm 110, where David speaks of his Lord.
So he's just quoting Hebrews here, right? He's just trying to go there.
Absolutely.
Because this is not David speaking. This is a court prophet speaking to David and quoting God in the first verse. So, but yeah, you need to read it through the Christian New Testament lens, which has altered the text and its interpretation in order to make it, and so that you can then retroject that novel interpretation back onto the text that doesn't support that interpretation that is in the Hebrew Bible. Silliness.
So, and this text as well, right? Just in the original text of Psalm 110, it's super difficult in the first place. And this is something for our Hebrew reading stream last week, Rabbi Chana and I went through Psalm 110. Something I feel like I'm often pointing out to people is that while at this later point in time, when these texts were edited and collected and put together and carefully curated by late Judean, early Jewish scribes, there certainly was this sharper distinction between the roles of the priest and the king, which probably wasn't so hard and fast in the old kingdoms. I mean, even within the text itself, all you have to do is read the speech of Solomon at the dedication of the temple. He's there offering sacrifices.
Yeah.
Like a priest. Like kings were temple officiants. Like that's part of what they did. So
and that's common. Like you see that in like Sumeria, Babylonia, you see that in Egypt in particular, is that they aren't priests as their quote day job, but they are able to go in and do priestly things and do officiating ceremonies. And that was considered part of their duties because you're, either manifesting the deity to the people or you're his representative or their avatar, I guess. There's all sorts of ways that you are standing in for this deity and you're promoting
the image.
It's like you have to
image.
Thank you.
The image,
the divine image.
Hey, you wrote a book about that.
Yeah, I mean, these things overlapped, but it's not like the king is a priest. You can't do both at the same time. They have like all day jobs. They have tasks that require their focus. So
and I think that was a constant power struggle as well between the palace and the temple. And so there were times when the king would have been like, you all work for me, I will tell you what to do. And then and that's why you have something similar in the Hebrew Bible where, we have no king but the Lord, but we also have this king. And
I mean,
you have different interests.
Tutankhamun's dad, he was like, no, we're just worshiping the sun disk now. That's the way it is. And then he dies and the priests are like, don't worry about this guy. We're just gonna restore previous draft.
We'll just chisel his name out of all the stuff.
Ignore that guy. He was weird. We're moving on. So
that's what I love about Egyptian stuff. A lot of times they don't like the Merneptah stele. A lot of people don't know that Merneptah just yoinked somebody else's stele and just wrote his on the other side of it.
This is mine.
There's an awful lot of appropriation going on there. Yeah.
Scratch out the name of some guy and then carve yours in. I mean, the fact that people would do that, they would carve over older hieroglyphs. That's part of why these ancient aliens nut jobs think that there's helicopters and UFOs and stuff. Because if you do a palm and then you carve a different symbol on it, it looks like a flying ship. Like,
it's hilarious.
Yo. It makes my head explode. It would be cool if it was sci-fi, but they treat it like it's real.
Who is nonetheless also a priest, but a different kind of priest. And he refers to a different priestly order, the order of Melchizedek, to distinguish this priest, and you're familiar with that if you've read the book of Hebrews. Now, sometimes this fuller hope is then spoken of as a messianic hope, because Messiah means anointed one, and the priests and the kings, as well as often prophets, were the anointed offices of the Old Testament. Fourth, as that hope develops in its own turn, the messianic hope of the Old Testament becomes interwoven with the entire range of Old Testament expectation. Every hope touches the messianic hope. So it's through the Messiah that God will bring about the blessing of the nations.
Just prediction here. Do you think he's going to refer to or pull from any Second Temple literature or apocalyptic texts to back this up.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No.
And this is the point seems to be that he's trying to make it sound like all these disparate elements were like suddenly supernaturally being conjoined, and it's going to culminate in Jesus. And but the reality is that this is just the Judahite ideology and then Judaism just developing, and then they're all receiving a tradition that is the accumulation of all the text that comes before, and then they're all adding to it in a way that kind of subsumes all of it, and then you get Jesus coming right at that time. It's like it's not a surprise that the guy who shows up here and claims to be the Messiah is representing the messianic perspective of that time and place. Like that's not a surprise. That's just how
it's a feature, right?
Yeah, that's how change works in ideological community.
Yeah, and the way these guys, apologists, like evangelicals specifically, is that in their mind, the Hebrew text is setting up all these little sections, and it creates a little person-shaped puzzle piece with a hole in it. And then they were like, okay, the Jews were just going around looking to see who fits in that little silhouette. Bam! Right. Jesus did it! And that's the way that they see that. That is not, dear readers and audience, that is not how Second Temple Jews and like apocalyptic sects were reading these texts and looking towards, messianic leaders or liberators or whatnot. And it's funny because they'll acknowledge, well, why didn't the Jews accept him? Because he fit the puzzle piece perfectly. Oh, well, they were looking for a physical liberator. So he didn't fit the puzzle piece. Then.
Yeah. Well, and that's where what he's going to. I haven't watched the rest of the video or much after this, but obviously he has to deny that the New Testament is renegotiating the expectations. And I think the most likely explanation is Jesus was executed and they were like, well, back to the drawing board. Wait a minute.
Right. Yeah.
What if we go and, we get the traditions about resurrection, and then suddenly all these reinterpretations pop up of, oh, he was supposed to die all along. We just didn't get it. And he was supposed, and so he's going to talk. I think he talks about the suffering. There were some people who believed in the suffering one. There's no evidence that anyone and I know there are some folks who have argued otherwise. Their views have not convinced the majority of scholars. There's no evidence any Jewish person prior to the 30s CE believed the Messiah would suffer and die and come back to life.
Yeah, and maybe we should just jump ahead to that section.
Okay.
I think it's 919.
Where's that 9? Yeah.
But
also,
919.
Because some people in the chat are saying it. When did God's people get reunited? Spoiler alert, hasn't happened.
No.
When was the multiplication of offspring? Because we see that immediately renegotiated in the New Testament. It's like, well, I mean, we know that the prophecy was physical descendants, but you don't have to actually be a physical descendant. If you believe in Jesus, you're a spiritual descendant.
Oh, and God can raise up seed from these rocks. So
yeah.
There you go.
Any moment.
Also, I do want to say this just in the interest of like transparency. The return to the land is not a fulfillment of prophecy. That was humans doing geopolitical stuff.
Yeah.
That wasn't a miracle. That was geopolitics. So let's move on.
So the while you're just pulling that up, I've made this point before, I think, but it's fairly interesting to me. The term Mashiach, as it appears, anointed one, as it appears in the Dead Sea Scrolls, is used with some relative consistency, and interestingly, almost always to refer to the Old Testament prophets. The Hebrew prophets were the anointed ones. The writers of the Dead Sea Scrolls. They had other words that they applied to their the ruler and the priest who were going to be coming at the end of days with the armies of God. But
the
this
Mashiach ben Yosef and the Mashiach ben
yeah.
David.
Yeah.
So although they
And I really, Simone is probably going to share my screaming with this, that Christians only want to take the parts of Jewish philosophy that they can put Jesus goggles on.
Yeah,
that's right.
We're not interested in how we got to these conclusions or what the metaphors are referring. They do not care about any of that. They only care about our stuff whenever they can yank Jesus out of it. So,
True.
like,
All right.
okay,
Suffering
we
servant.
are at the next
Or
timestamp.
suffering
more or
Messiah.
less.
Yes.
I'm suffering, but I'm not Messiah.
All nations of the earth. But that's not the whole story. You also have passages like Psalm 22 and Zechariah 12:10, where this figure comes and is pierced. That word pierced often means a piercing unto death. You also have
Psalm 22 is a lament psalm that's talking about something that has already happened to the author. It is not a prophecy in any way, shape, or form whatsoever until it's put into the mouth of Jesus at the crucifixion, and people think, oh, this is the fulfillment of this prophecy, which requires you misread what verse 16 is saying. But and then Zechariah 12, which has this nonsensical switch from first person to third person in verse 10, which the overwhelming majority of scholars don't agree that this is equating God with this human who will be pierced, and they're just, God is just deciding, well, I'm going to say me in one clause and then him in another. Yeah, it doesn't say pierced. It's like what?
It says Ka'ari, and any Hebrew speaker that knows the most basic, and I mean like first few weeks worth of biblical Hebrew will tell you Ka'ari does not mean pierced or dug or anything like that. It is,
and even if you do,
or like,
yeah,
a lion. Ari.
And even if you do change the yod to a vav and just say that the aleph is, we're just going to get rid of the aleph, then we have dug, which does not mean pierced. Dug is a verb. Even in the Septuagint's rendering, they use a verb that means to remove material, and the verbal focus is on either the space or the surface that is left behind by the removal of material. It does not fit the notion of driving nails through somebody's hand.
And so you have to drop the aleph out of there to make it work, because kuf, aleph, resh, vav is gobbledygook.
Yeah, not
Hebrew.
A word.
Gibberish. It
really
means
is.
nothing. It's like doing a key smash on your keyboard. It doesn't mean anything. So that's so frustrating. Well, people are like, what do you mean, like a lion? There's probably a word or two missing, but either way, even if there was, that's not relevant, because the rest of the psalm is talking about dogs and lions as metaphors for like enemies. So
and neither of these is a prophecy about neither of these texts is a prophecy about a suffering Messiah either. That's entirely arbitrary to say that it's about that, even if the reading is correct, which it's not.
Since you guys brought it up, so this is the transcription of the Nachal Hever Psalm scroll, which supposedly reads Kof Aleph Resh Vav. You can see there. It's interesting that the editors, I believe it's actually Peter Flint, who just on his own, who edited this manuscript. He read Yod Dalet Yod Hey, which is her hands and my feet. He never says anything about this in the notes anywhere, but it really has kind of bugged me. It's got me to thinking through about this. Oh shoot, where are we going here? I'm trying to play it. Why isn't it?
This worked earlier when you were.
It did work earlier, didn't it? So, oh, here we go. Let's do that. So there's the fragment, right? Mm-hmm. And I've people don't realize just how hard this fragment is to read in the first place. Looks a little better in infrared. When I invert it, you can actually read the text pretty clearly. But there's a bunch of stuff going on here I want to point out. So it's the third line, and there you have Kof Aleph Resh, probably a Vav. Looks like a Vav. Then you have the Yod Dalet. So that would be, either like a lion or they pierced, maybe, even though it's misspelled. The hand is next. Then you've got this letter, which is understood to be a Yod, but it's really long.
Yeah.
And then they see what's next as a Hey. And then they fill in Viragli. So
nah, that's
I've been
just
working.
the smearing in detritus on the scroll. That's what I'm going.
I've
with
been
that. That's
yeah,
not a
I've been working with this a little bit. So I actually think what this is probably more what you've got going on here. You probably have, like, this is the clearest letter that I can see in the smudgy stuff. And then if you look beside that Gimel, you can see what also looks like potentially some ink that could belong to a superlinear downstroke of a lamed right there. And then when you fill the rest in, it probably does read Yod Dalet, maybe a Yod, my hands and my feet. But I'm really interested in this letter here, in this letter that is, it has to be a Yod. It just has to be based on, because this is my hands. It's got to be a Yod. But if that's a Yod, then why are we so determined that the Vav at the end of Kof Aleph Resh is a Vav?
Is a Vav, yeah.
Right?
Well, that's the problem. The difference between Yod and Vav is, like, it's not even a spectrum, because you have readings that we're positive about where a Vav is shorter than a Yod on the same line.
Yes.
Like, it's
Yeah.
so it's arbitrary. This is a toss-up.
Yeah, and this is another.
Absolutely.
I was joking around with one of my classmates this week, talking about how the switch to the Aramaic square script was a mistake because of stuff like this. Because you can't always tell the difference between Vav and Yod.
Right? Yeah.
Not like, man, if they knew what they were doing, Babylonian exile.
Yeah.
So,
If we need Old Hebrew, so then it's just we can't tell the difference between a Dalet and a Resh.
Right. And the Hey and the Het. It's like, guys, can we just go back to the, like, Phoenician alphabet? I'll clear things out.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's listen to
Here we
Gavin.
go.
All right.
Let's.
Zechariah 9:9, where he's riding on a donkey. Most provocatively of all, of course, you have Isaiah 53.
So yeah, one at least the way that Matthew reads it is two donkeys. But this is an example of a story that almost certainly is just something the authors came up with precisely in order to write the fulfillment of prophecy into the narrative. So, okay, what does he say after that? I
two
see
donkeys, so like they were stacked on each other.
Yeah.
Clearly. Just saying.
A righteous servant of God who suffers vicariously for the sins of others. Now, these texts also have rabbinic precedent for being taken as messianic, along with the more triumphant messianic texts.
Now you're wading into my territory, Gavin.
What's the problem with rabbinic precedent?
It's not precedent.
Rabbis
it's
didn't write their
postcedent.
shit down until after the temple was destroyed, guy. It was like several centuries. Precedent. What are you, guy?
I like that. I've never heard that before. Postcedent.
Postcedent.
That's very good.
P.S. Real quick, just let me divert real quick. We're not doing this whole ethnocentrism makes Jews and Judaism evil and bad and racist.
Oh, please,
P.S.
no.
Okay,
Nope.
we're not doing that. Please don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Every single people group was doing ethnocentrism. All of them. So examine why you want to single out Jews. Just sit with that for a minute. Anyway, Triceratops says rabbis don't have time machines. Well, if you listen to that, what's the little cartoon guy, the Spirit Science? Apparently Hebrews are from the future, but also Mars. So, or time travelers.
Nice.
Yeah. So maybe they just went back in time and I don't know. But let's hear him talk about the precedent Okay.
This was not the only possible pre-Christian take on passages like Isaiah 53 and Psalm.
The pre-Christian take that was written down 100 years after, at the very earliest.
The very earliest. So yeah.
Oh god.
But again, this is stuff that the New Testament writers weren't explicit about. Going back to Psalm 22, right?
Well, yeah, the New Testament never associated verse 17 with Jesus. It's only verse 1 that they associate with Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all very late.
All right.
Okay. All right. Let's
22 and Zechariah 12, but it was one very prominent one. More recently, it's often claimed that the servant of Isaiah 53 is the corporate nation of Israel. But Isaiah 53...
That's because that's what the text tells you it is.
Yeah.
Back up a couple chapters.
Yeah. Chapter 49 does it at least, I think, twice. Says, actually, my servant Israel.
I wrote them all down, actually.
Oh, you wrote them all down?
For 41 verses 8 to 9, 43 verse 10, 44 verse 1 to 2, 44 verse 21, 45 verse 4, 48 verse 20, and 49 verse 3. I mean, and it's explicit.
Yes. It's like my servant, comma, Israel.
Yeah. And even it's in chapter 44, it even identifies Jacob as my servant, and then it uses the same term in the plural, my servants, my people. Like it doesn't get any clearer that this is certainly in view, but it's funny to me because I think here in a minute it almost feels like Gavin hasn't read anything but Isaiah 53, maybe. Honestly.
Mean, look, this is another thing that you and I have talked about when I've tried to go digging through certain parts of Dead Sea Scrolls for other classes that I'm in, and I get really excited when one set of manuscripts uses a singular verb for a collective noun versus a different manuscript tradition that uses the plural verb for a collective noun. This is a similar phenomenon.
Yeah.
Where it's using a collective and using servants, plural, but also servant, because it's either referring to people within the collective or the collective as a whole, as a unit.
Well, and this is something that I noticed. I love the way that in the UK and America, we'll talk about sports teams in different ways. Like, with sports teams where they have their name, one of us will treat that team in the singular, and the other will most commonly treat it in the plural. Yeah. So, and inevitably, what always happens when you point this out is then people go, well, Isaiah 53 can't be about this personified representative of Israel. And I imagine that's where Gavin is going to go here.
I think so.
Yeah, and another thing is, I was going to say that this might blow some people's minds, but a lot of these texts, and I mean a lot of them, are post hoc theological rationalizations for why our people are going through the shit.
Yeah. 100%.
Because it can't just happen on its own. There has to be a theological reason. They can't have the Romans just being the better, stronger, empire. It has to be because the people sinned. They did baseless hatred, and that's why God was like, you know what, Romans, take it.
And this goes...
History can't just happen. It has to be God doing it or allowing it for some theological purpose. So when you see the people suffering, they go into multiple exiles, or they're occupied pretty much continuously. All of our rebellions fail. If they succeed, it's 5 minutes, and then it goes to hell again. This is another post hoc rationalization for why we're suffering. It's we're doing this for the world.
Everybody did this too. I love pointing to the Mesha inscription, where Mesha says that Omri was allowed to subjugate Moab. Why? Because Chemosh was angry with his land. Like it's
That's right.
that rationalization was just universal in that time and place. They all came up with it, and the Hebrew Bible is unique in no small part because it is the accumulation of more generations of a given ethnic group than ever got to survive in those other nations. And so you have a much larger accumulation and longer accumulation of that literature. And so there's a much, there's a bigger wealth of stories and tropes and things to appeal to. But yeah, the rationalization is the same. Well, why did that happen? Well, let's figure out a way to make sense of it in light of what we believe about our God. And
this happens today on large and small scales. These are the same questions people have been asking for millennia. Why does suffering happen? Why did my 4-year-old get cancer and die? Why did this person get hit in a car wreck? Why did this and this happen? And you see folk rationalizations for it, and people kind of coming up with stuff on the fly, trying to comfort, the people who are suffering and their family members or whatever. But on a grand scale, there's another thing. Why does suffering happen? Why are all these natural disasters happening? Well, the world is a fallen place, and that just tells us that it needs to be restored by God one day. Like, these are post hoc rationalizations. We know why natural disasters happen. That's something we can study. Suffering in general, there's a lot of factors going on, but this is how they were rationalizing it at that period when these texts are written. This is yike. Yeah. What was this person in chat? Suffering happens for the glory of God. Yeah. And that's
why, according to the book of Exodus, that's why God hardened Pharaoh's heart, because God wanted to show off. I saw somebody who was like, you gotta think of God as the sun, and you can either fill your heart with like soil or clay, and when that sun shines on it, it can either make it grow or it can harden it. And so it's not that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Pharaoh just made his heart such that when God shined on it, it made it hard to, and it's like, no, the text says why. Exodus says that God is doing this so that my works may be made manifest. God's like, I want to flex. And so I need Pharaoh to say no. So I'm going to make Pharaoh say no. And then I get to flex.
The whole opening of Job is the whole squad in heaven hanging out. And the Satan walks in and is like, hey, want to make a bet? See that guy? I bet he'll curse you. And God's like, I'll take that bet. And that's the whole setup for the story.
Yeah.
How many prophets and how many people throughout the rest of the Hebrew Bible go, God, don't let this bad thing happen to us because your reputation is going to go straight to the gutter. Everyone's going to laugh at you and they're going to say you're weak and you can't protect your people.
They're all going to laugh at you.
How many times? They're all going to laugh at you. Yeah, it's like the whole squad dunking on you. You can't have that. I mean,
but Kipp Vish, did either of you recognize that line?
Yes.
I missed it. No.
Yes.
That is from an old Adam Sandler. That's from an old Adam Sandler comedy album.
Oh, see, I didn't listen to comedy
and
albums.
Also Carrie. They're all going to laugh at you. That's remembering that.
All right.
Okay. I'm trying to shake this off. Let's go.
53 is only one of 4 servant songs in the book of Isaiah, and they all describe the same figure. And elsewhere, that servant is said.
Yeah, the figure is Israel, the collective, the people.
Okay.
Yeah, and the text tells you that. All right.
To save Israel. Furthermore, if the servant is Israel, then that would require that the speakers in Isaiah 53 are the Gentile nations, which is very odd. There's other details that don't quite fit with Israel being.
Wait, what? That doesn't require that at all.
No. Because it's what you're doing is presupposing, okay, well then if all Israel is subsumed within this corporate identity, then there can be no separate identity that is not also Israel. But that's not what's going on. It's more like this is the servant is this personification of or avatar of Israel. It's separate from, which is why it suffers on Israel's behalf, but is not the actual author of that suffering. It's not the corporate Israel's fault but they suffer the consequences of what the actual people of Israel do. So yeah, this is a bad reading.
I've heard some
wait,
scholars
no.
suggest as well, and I kind of like this too, that like there is a narrowing with as you move forward in the servant songs, and the suffering servant in Isaiah 52 and 53 is more like a remnant, like the group that was languishing in Babylon on behalf of everybody, because it's not like everybody was gone, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The entire and so it just there's all sorts of ways in which this makes perfect sense within the context of seeing exactly what the writer was trying to do with these texts without pointing to any Messiah.
You know what? I'm going to save that comment for later. Let's keep going.
The servant either. So, while it's true that Israel can be spoken of as God's servant, that cannot exhaust the meaning of this passage in Isaiah 53. Rather, Isaiah 53 is best taken as a messianic prophecy, describing a future individual from among God's people who can then also act on their behalf.
No.
Even though it is all spoken of as something that already happened.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the prophetic perfect.
Nope. You need to learn how to read at least some of the original language. Even if you just do pattern recognition and go, okay, this means past tense, even if that's all you do, you need to be able to look at it and go, oh wait, that's not will conceive, it's has conceived.
And this text too, right? Like
Yeah.
in not as hard as Psalm 110, but this one too. It's not all that like there's still some words and some expressions in there that you're still a little fuzzy on in terms of exactly how, and there's some textual variants in the text too that just help, it complicates things even further. It's always within the ambiguity is really where arguments like this thrive. And I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like the fact that your best case is this shrouded mystery amid, all these other extremely concrete, clear things, I think is a problem.
Yeah. Somebody asked who was, did Deutero Isaiah have a name? Who was it? And here's the cool thing about Deutero Isaiah. No, there's no name. They're not even referred to as Isaiah. The last time the name Isaiah occurs in the entire book of Isaiah is in Isaiah 39, verse 8. After that, 6
times in total.
After that, the name Isaiah is never once mentioned again in the entire book of Isaiah.
You just have to assume that it's the same author.
Yeah, even though everything changes once you get to Isaiah 40.
Yeah. Isaiah 2, Electric Hebrew.
In terms of and the way this works out, I think like the growth of the, and I'm not even sure that the editors who put these texts together understood these later texts as prophecies of Isaiah. In my estimation, it probably grew and was transmitted something like the Minor Prophet Scroll. And much like the Minor Prophet Scroll, there were elements within the later parts which also then affected and contributed to the redaction of the earlier parts as well. Like the transmission of this literature is super complex.
Yeah.
All right, I got to the next timestamp.
Okay.
Well, the answer cannot be textual corruptions and or interpolations, because there's.
Why can't it?
Well, he's going to say here that all of this predated Jesus. So I mean I think that's
except for the interpretation.
The interpretation part, yes. Did he say interpretation or did he say interpolation?
No, he said interpolation, but I'm pointing out that his interpretation is post-Christian.
100%, right?
Yeah. It
And this
can't
is
be
why,
this.
I mean,
Why?
so
Because I don't want it to.
the earliest, it's so funny because maybe the earliest reliable, the one that we can reliably date, the earliest actual Jewish interpretation of Isaiah 53 appears in the Targum, which was written in the in the 130s, which turns the whole
BCE?
thing. No,
No,
80.
CE.
This was and this was right around. It's very interesting historically because the Targum was written in the anticipation of Bar Kokhba's victory as the Messiah, right? So this earliest messianic interpretation of Isaiah 53 basically turns the whole thing on its head, eliminates all the suffering, and turns him into a victorious king. That's how it does it. That's the way it does it. So it's very telling, I think.
Okay.
Simply too many prophecies in play. The evidence strongly supports that they predate Christ and generally have been copied very accurately. For example,
This is why they get so obsessed with the Great Isaiah Scroll being word for word, word for word, word for word with the Masoretic and other stuff. Because they're like,
Yes.
well, it's been accurately copied, so like nobody could have changed it. So like our interpretation of it is the right one. Like it doesn't matter if it was copied accurately on every manuscript. That still doesn't demonstrate that your interpretation of it is right, and it doesn't preclude interpolations or excisions.
And like Psalm 22:17, Zechariah 12:10, they're pretty good cases to make for textual corruption in those. And we know from the Great Isaiah Scroll that there was textual corruption. And like Isaiah 53, we can restore entire words that are absent from MT.
Do you?
Thank you.
I continue to
When
raise
was
this
the
question.
text stabilized, big dog?
Yeah. Do you have an explanation, Dan, why Protestant apologists have such a hard-on for the Masoretic text? Which is weird to me because it feels like a better way to go would be the Septuagint, even historically, I think. Like,
well, I think the part of the Protestant Reformation was built on the Hebraica Veritas, the return of Luther to the Hebrew, and because the Septuagint also is where we get the Apocrypha, which was a part of Protestantism for the first few hundred years, but they ultimately abandoned. And so I think maybe they just like having a diplomatic text from 1,000 years ago. But I think it's just that is the tradition on which Protestant translations of the Bible is built, and so they don't want to have to abandon that foundation, because if they say, all right, we're going to use an eclectic edition made up of Dead Sea Scrolls and Septuagint and other readings, they're starting over from scratch in a lot of ways. But there's so many traditional readings that are built on the Masoretic text. And Jeremiah is 1/6 longer.
That's
a hornet's nest. They don't want to be kicking.
There is. Nope.
I have an additional explanation for their obsession with the Masoretic. In addition to that, is Christianity has to legitimize itself based on Judaism. It has to. You can't just have the New Testament out of context. It has to assume that Judaism is deficient somehow in order for Christianity to be legit. So when it takes Hebrew manuscripts, that is one way that they legitimize their place in the succession, right? So things being copied accurately, that proves God preserved his word, and that means all of our stuff is legit because it's built on a solid foundation. If the texts were cobbled together, or if they're an anthology, or if these are, in many cases polemic, well, then it delegitimizes in their eyes their standing, because it starts eroding the foundation that they think is perfect and solid, and it's telling one story. That's another reason that they need the Masoretic text and the Dead Sea Scrolls and all these other manuscripts to not have that many differences, and they can't be significant differences.
But I do think it is interesting that when we find a better reading in the Dead Sea Scrolls, we decide this is earlier, this is more original. There is an intuitive opposition to making changes, and I don't know, that I think that's probably more tradition than anything else. But and it's odd because there are a lot of Protestant evangelical apologists who are fine with the critical text of the New Testament. Like we can get rid of the Textus Receptus. They're okay with just deleting a handful of passages, but
yeah. I've heard in the place where I used to work was a Southern Baptist church, and I have heard people saying, as if it's fact, established fact, that the scribes were so accurate and meticulous in their copying that if they made a certain number of errors, they would throw out the whole sheet. And then I look at the manuscripts, various kinds of them, and I'm like, nah, that's not true at all. Because you can tell where they've corrected mistakes. They didn't throw out a whole sheet. That stuff's expensive, okay? You wait till the ink dries, and then you take a blade and you scrape the first few layers off. And you can see because it smudges and it doesn't look as nice when you fill it back in. And I just remember thinking, where do people get this crap?
Well, and even in the Great Isaiah Scroll, there are a bunch of places where there are superlinear additions and
they
marginal.
write a word above it. Go, actually, sorry, my bad. Yeah.
Or entire sentences.
No, it's just a wild manuscript, because you've got places where blank spaces were left because the scribe couldn't read what was on the bottom of his exemplar and had to come back and fill it in later. And then in places where he thought, you know what, I actually think I remember this text, even though I can't read it, and fills it in, and it's different, right? He got good job. Like, you got the general gist, still totally different. Like, it's
There's also discrepancies between different scribal sections of the traditions of the Mishnah. I ran into one in my Talmud class this week. The edition that we have printed that we're reading out of, the Daf reads differently than the source they used on Sepharia. And it wasn't anything major. It's just that one of them abbreviated a couple words, whereas the other manuscript didn't. So it didn't change anything. It didn't make any big differences. But like, some people were really thrown off by that in class. Like, oh my God, which one's the right one? What's going on? It's like, well, they're telling you the same thing. It's just that one of them didn't write HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It used an acronym for it.
Yeah.
That's
nice. So I was the Oxford Annotated Mishnah is a wonderful publication. Right. There's 3 volumes of this sucker, and the hard copies are like $1,000. But I don't know if there was just a glitch on their website or something, but the paperbacks are just like $75 for all 3. So I was like, sold. but these have wonderful notes that point out where there are different readings in the manuscripts.
Yeah,
excellent.
All right, we can get through, I think, this next 2 sections before we tackle.
Let's plow through Daniel here, shall we?
Example: the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls contains copies of Isaiah 53, and that dates well before Christ, and are very similar to the text of Isaiah that we had before they were discovered, even if they are not word for word. If you've been watching the internet, you know what I'm talking about there. The third and best alternative explanation is simple coincidence or something in this ballpark. Some of these prophecies are, in fact, cryptic and inexact, to be sure. This is not a slam dunk. Sometimes you could say...
That's the game. That's it.
Tentatively impressed by him saying that, but I also know he's using that as an escape hatch for when people inevitably we come through and critique it. So if you don't make super solid claims without escape hatch, people are going to tear you up. So I see you, Kevin.
Well, maybe they sort of conjure up an impression that corresponds to Jesus vaguely, but only really with a combination of cherry picking, motivated reasoning, and blind luck. If I was arguing the other side, that's the way I would go.
I mean, that's /self-aware wolves.
So, what is his argument if he's arguing his side of the case? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you squint at it, this has to be Jesus because
Gotta
no
be.
one else fit these exact things happening. Okay, we're at the last section. We can do this.
Yeah.
Consider Daniel 9, for example, where the angel Gabriel announces to Daniel the destruction of Jerusalem.
Ah, yes, the most clear text. Daniel.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
no
we're talking about
precision.
we're bringing up Onias the Third
Yeah.
because that helps the case.
Oh, guys
Okay.
that give, dates and weeks of years and things like that. Yeah, very clear. We're going right there.
Somebody says Dan is taking
Okay.
psychic damage.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some dice here I can roll to see what my resistance is.
The destruction of the temple, that's the word sanctuary there, and the coming of a Messiah, that's the anointed one, who will atone for sin, who will establish righteousness, and who will put an end
Does
to
it- wait,
sacrifice and
no,
offering. You
no,
can see those
hold
words in bold.
on. What?
Hold
Net
on.
20, baby. Oh,
Now,
awesome.
but here's the thing, because Daniel 9, that's not when it's not like they are messiahless until that passage right there, which I believe is verse
No.
24. No, it's that's verse 26, because it says right here. Okay, so because there's going to be a Messiah before that. Yeah,
The leader,
Nope.
the prince.
Verse 25, know therefore and understand from the time that the word went out to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. Now, this you just have to arbitrarily make up what exactly this is pointing to, even though word going out cannot be a Persian or other king sending out a decree, because throughout this part of Daniel, word going out is always a reference to a word from God. But
Yeah.
it says right here, from the time the word went out to rebuild Jerusalem until the time of an anointed prince, anointed one, Mashiach, there shall be 7 weeks. So there's already a Mashiach prior to the 62 weeks even happening. So, and for 62 weeks it shall be built again with streets and moat, but in a troubled time. After 62 weeks, an anointed one shall be cut off and shall have nothing. And this is widely agreed to be talking about 172 BCE, Onias III, who was a high priest, who that would have been the anointed one being assassinated. So, yeah,
And that's there's a universal agreement about that too. Like I just it within the critical scholarly community also, like you have to single out Daniel 9, because as soon as you read Daniel 8, 9, and then 10 and 11 all together, then you're like, of course, I know exactly what this is about, and it's not about Jesus.
Right.
It's not. Because in particular, Daniel 10 and 11 make this just abundantly clear what is being spoken of in Daniel 9.
Yeah.
It's you guys are like, that's the thing, right? Like, you guys supposedly pride yourself on your commitment to the word of God, on your careful handling of the scriptures. Why can't you just read it? Just read it. And read more than, Isaiah 53 without the rest of the servant songs, or Daniel 9 without the rest of the context provided by the remaining Hebrew visions. Like, it's annoying. It just is.
Yeah.
Is he going to defend this reading at all, or is
a little bit? Yes.
Let's see.
Okay,
So
I want to see how he defends it.
See how he does this.
Okay, I rolled a nat 20. I got this.
Toward the end. Now, this is hugely contested. I mean, oh boy, so much. I mean, first of all, just the date of the book of Daniel. However, all sides agree that it predates Christ, but the specific time frame that is given here is debated. Here we have a reference to 77s, or sometimes translated 70 weeks. The debate is on how to understand this language. It gets very complicated, but here's one reasonable option, is to take 70 times of 7 years as 490 years. Now, if you measure from the decree of Artaxerxes, which is
Oh my
referenced,
god.
There
I
it
hate
is.
So
So he's taking it
much.
from the Persian decree.
And you have multiple different decrees though.
Yeah.
Because it could have been Artaxerxes, it could have been Ezra, it could have been it could have been Cyrus, it could have been, there are a variety of different decrees. So you're just arbitrarily, and then the date of that decree is also something that we can't really determine for sure. So you really just say what year does it need to be? Okay, we're gonna pick that one.
Yeah, they're just backtracking it. Yeah, this is
but as
so weak. And
as you yourself pointed out, Dan, like it's almost certainly the word of God.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's being spoken of here. It's not the word of a king. In fact, I wish I had it on hand, but there is earlier in this very vision, and I don't have the time to just pull it up. Earlier in this vision, he calls the message, the angel calls the message that he's delivering to Daniel.
Yeah.
The word.
The word. Yeah. Well, you have in verse 2, I, Daniel, perceived in the books the number of years that, according to the word of the Lord, to the prophet Jeremiah, must be fulfilled for the devastation of Jerusalem, namely 70 years. And then I think it's just before verse 25. So I've come to declare, consider the word and understand the vision in verse 23, 70 weeks. And so a lot of people pointed out, well, why isn't the word to Jeremiah where we're starting? Because if we use that as the starting point, then we get to Onias. We get to just before the Antiochus IV Epiphanes, which is when the majority of scholars,
the abomination of desolation was set up. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Now, all of that, and that's all of that stuff doesn't work either, right? Like if you're going to just point to Onias as the Messiah who's cut off, that must be Jesus. There's stuff that happens after that just the sacrifices are cut off. That doesn't happen for what, like 40 years after Jesus, and then there's a covenant that's made, between between Antiochus and the people. Okay, like how does that fit? It just, none of it fits unless you hyper focus. You have to hyper focus on these on this little detail in order to make any of it work.
This is why, like, premillennial dispensationalism and things like that, this is where they take it and run. They're like, well, there's a missing week here, and that there's like a parenthetical, undetermined period of time between when the prince is cut off and then he comes back, and that's when the tribulation's going to start, and that's when the Antichrist makes the deal, and it's broken off halfway through, and then the temple is restored, and all the sacrifices start. Stop. Just stop.
And he, on the chart he shows here, it says Jerusalem rebuilt after 7 weeks. Okay, according to Daniel 9, that's when there is an anointed prince. There's a Mashiach. So who is that? Unless you understand Mashiach to refer to a high priest, which means we should probably be looking to a high priest for the Mashiach that is cut off as well. Yeah, this Daniel 9 just frustrates the crap out of me.
There's
it's not
covenant.
Yeah, and it's
a firm covenant with many for half a week who will put a stop to the sacrifice and the meal offering. At the corner of the altar, there will be an abomination until the decreed destruction. Yeah. None of this stuff works.
And he talks about this as if it is hotly contested. It's not.
No.
Like you can look in all kinds of commentaries, and they're like, it's Antiochus the Fourth Epiphanes.
Yep. That's it.
And it's only contested if you are coming to this with the conviction and the dogma that this must be about Jesus, and in which case you're not finding Jesus in the text. You're not
Putting him
finding
in.
a text that you're putting Jesus in the text intentionally. It's not hotly contested. It's just you refuse to accept the consensus without really much of an argument.
Yeah, let's finish
All right.
this a little bit.
In Ezra 7 to restore Jerusalem, which is dated to around 458 BC. That lands you right around 33 AD, around the time Jesus.
Right around.
No,
Guy, this needs to be
before-
precise. He's giving you exact numbers. You can't estimate. This has to be exact.
Well,
So isn't
and that's
that-
because he's got the 1 week thing, and it's a half of the week, and so they're trying to split it right down the middle, even though 33 is the more traditional date for the crucifixion.
Yeah.
So again, we're having to squint
right
at it.
around it. Yeah, again, this is just, well, I mean, if you squint it,
Was crucified. There's little wiggle room.
Oh,
Because
also,
again, some of these factors
one
I
more
mentioned
thing,
about inclusive.
if I may, one more thing. Christ is baptized and anointed to begin ministry 4 years before he's crucified.
well, it's only 3.5, Dan, because
whoops.
that's in the autumn.
But that's only if you accept the Johannine chronology. Because if you listen to the
Yes.
Synoptic Gospels, it's just a 1-year ministry. So we're having to pick and choose and overrule and just ignore arguments that have to be made in support of this.
Remember, like 2 minutes ago, when he said, if I were arguing against this, I would talk about cherry picking? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
and so on and so forth. And this is a few decades, of course, before the destruction of Jerusalem and the Jewish temple in 70 AD.
All right.
All
That
right.
was the last big.
That was it. So you got about 10 minutes. If
We do have super chat.
We have some super chats. Do you want to just prioritize the ones, because Dan's got to get out of here at 4? Do you want to prioritize the ones that are for him directly? Sweet.
F.111 for $4.99. Hey Dan, can you confirm that you received the payment I sent for a signed copy of your book?
Yes, I did receive that payment. Thank you. I have not. I've gotten so many of them. I haven't been able to respond to anybody.
Cool. The Behold Network for 2. Money for Kipp to talk me up to Dan.
Tell me about
I
the
will.
whole network, Kipp.
We'll talk all about it next week, Dan. When, when we're at
Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for 5. Any individual or organization with truth in their name contains substantially less truth. Baseline. Yeah, that's kind of an inverse thing, is having truth in your name and not saying any. Chrissy for 10. This kind of provable apologetic is when you are so afraid of scientific reality that you must assert your faith is scientific, or else you'd stop believing. It's shallow and cowardly, Gavin. Ouch.
Very nice. Thanks, Chrissy.
All right. Whoops. Archival blog for 26. May the stream be blessed by that take.
This is inside lore, Dan.
Good.
I mean, I could show you. I could just
show
do
real quick,
that
it's fine.
real quick. It's worthwhile.
I can say, Ahavtika, I love you.
Have you never seen
Yes.
that?
I think I remember you talking about how somebody just totally screwed up the Hebrew.
That's
Would you believe
young
that's
Westhoff.
Westhoff?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's Westhoff? Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I responded to a video of his where he was on a podcast talking about in the rabbinic literature they have the Hashavrot, which are God's presence throughout the world, and I was like, I don't think that's the word. I even went to AI to be like, what on earth is somebody talking about if they're talking about this? And AI was like, it sounds like they misunderstood the word Sephirot. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. But although that's not rabbinic, that's Kabbalistic, and that's an emanationist ideology. But okay.
Yeah, Sphero.
Excellent.
Don't go around.
Sphirot.
Okay, no, that's dumb. That's too dumb. I can't. Little of all trades for $2. Treats for everyone. Double for
Thank
day.
you, Lily.
The abomination of the Philistines. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for 5. Because enemies trodden underfoot is such a unique metaphor for victory or dominance. I know.
It's even
No one
on the freaking Parthenon.
Yeah, Daniel, that's pagan. They obviously stole it from the right source. I mean, come on. Remote 6029 for 5 beaver bucks. Perfect way to spend a Friday evening. Jesus is everywhere. Everywhere! God, I wish I could have done that like Gary Oldman. The everyone!
That was apparently ad-libbed. He wanted to freak out the audio guys.
Of course
So
it was.
He said I was not supposed to do that, and I just wanted to freak everybody out. So
That's
just
accurate.
screamed it
That's
as loud
fair.
as I could. Yeah.
Yeah, that tracks. Tristan codes for 5. Everyone I ask say that the word was God is the best rendering over divine, and say scholars say so. Is that true? Why is it in all Bibles that way?
The word was God is the most traditional because that holds up the Trinity. But the scholarly consensus from grammarians, at least, on what's going on there is that the second occurrence of theos in John 1:1 through 3 is anarthrous, meaning it doesn't have a definite article and should be understood as not as a reference to an individual, but it is about it's qualitative. And so even like Daniel Wallace will be like, hey, you could translate divine, that would be accurate, but that might mislead people into thinking it's not God the Father, or it's not God of Israel, which is basically just presupposing the Trinity. But yeah, it is qualitative. Like that's agreed upon by the majority of grammarians. And so it's talking about what kind of being the Logos is. It's not talking about what specific being the Logos is. And they don't translate it, the word was divine, because they know they won't sell Bibles, because they're being read by Trinitarians who want that to be about the Trinity.
Yikes. S. Mill for $4.99. What do you think of the theory that Melchizedek is a corruption of an adjective or something in 1 Kings or wherever, and then written into Genesis?
Where in First Kings?
I've never heard that.
Yeah, it only
Is it
occurs
just-
in Genesis 14 and in
Yeah.
Psalm 110.
Mhm.
Molech is a corruption in 1 Kings 11:7, where it should be Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. But I don't know what this is talking about. Melchizedek as a corruption.
I mean, I think I've toyed with the idea that at least in Psalm 110, there's some room for understanding this as just the adjective with the noun. My
Melchizedek.
my king
Righteous
is
king.
righteous.
Yeah.
You know, or even just a corruption of the adjective with the noun. So, but I'm not entirely sure where else we would go.
Yeah, I
with
don't know.
that. Sorry.
Tad is mad for 2. Gavin Ortland is the Gavin Ortland of apologetics.
Ouch. That's
a dapper.
is that even worse than the
meme.
Richard Carrier of apologetics?
And
Somebody
it's-
needs to let
Yikes.
me know.
That's
And his name is spelled UND, I believe.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mhm.
Get it right, Tad.
Stephen G. Clenara, 1766 for 5. The moral of Job is to be the second most righteous man.
You don't have to be the fastest runner. You just have to be faster than one person.
Faster than the other guy.
Right.
That's right. That's right. Vadim for €2. Dr. Kipp still didn't write any books. Come on, Kipp.
I
you got a
wrote one
clip for that.
recently, so you know it.
You have a clip
And
for
I
that.
talk about a lot of this stuff in this one, by the way. And the audiobook is coming.
Oh,
soon.
by the way, Kip, can
Yeah.
I have a copy of that book? I
Yeah.
think
You didn't get one yet.
didn't I blurb it?
You did, yes.
Yeah, I
will
did.
send
I
you a
haven't.
copy.
Awesome.
I
Thank you.
will. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. John McGimsey, 1825 for 5, just sends 5. So thank you.
Thank you.
Didn't have a message that I could tell. Also, Matra
Holy
Chondrial
smokes.
Tad sent 5
Wow.
Kip David channel memberships.
That
So thank you.
is very generous.
So now y'all can use the little Mud
The
Kip
emojis.
Davis
We
emoji
have
in the chat.
Emojis.
Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for 5. Close is for horseshoes, hand grenades, and prophecies?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Seriously. Jessica's Transmetal Alchemist for 10. Down Under Bucks. 3 of my favorite people on the internet. Purple heart,
Thanks,
purple heart,
Jessica.
purple heart. Tad is mad for 2. Should I name my child My Dad is Tad? Yes. Avi Tad.
I mean, you know, it was apparently very popular to name your child My Father is the King. So it's that's something that happened, I
Yeah.
guess.
And it was
So-
popular to then tell my father is king that your wife is actually your sister, which happened
That
more
too.
than once. Yeah.
To different people,
Yeah.
different kings. So awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's all of them. So thanks, Dan, for coming and
Hey,
hanging out.
Yeah.
for a
thanks
couple
for
hours.
having me. Had a great
Super fun.
time. It was wonderful to get to talk about this stuff with some folks on the interwebs. Whose internet are we saying it is now? Is it Beyonce's? Is
I
it
think
still Al
it's still Al
Gore's?
Gore's internet.
Still Al Gore's
Yeah, I think
internet?
it's gonna be
Okay.
Al Gore's internet.
Total mind
Wait.
blow to see Dan on Hank Green, Chef's Kiss. That was a fun interview. I thought that was pretty cool. Did you guys see that?
Is that a recent one? No.
Is that the one
Yeah, I
of
don't
Jesus
remember.
having hair, long hair?
Yeah, he released it just
Okay.
a couple of days ago, but that interview was from a couple months
I gotta
ago.
look at that.
Where he was like, I had this question about why we think of Jesus as having long hair, and I could not get a satisfactory answer on the internet. So I just thought I'd reach out to you and see if you wanted to record a video about it. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. So
It's
it
in my
was
queue.
That's
to
awesome.
Watch.
it was pretty fun.
Cool.
All
I gotta
right,
check that out.
All right.
Cool. You
I
gotta
got to
run?
roll. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank
we'll
you,
wrap it up.
everybody. I will see both of you in
Boston.
Beantown in
Yeah.
a week
not
from
long.
today.
week.
I'll be All right. Take it easy.
Sweet. Take
Bye,
care, Dan.
Dan.
Bye.
And let's see,
And
Kip.
he's-
That was pretty much that was all the super chats. Everything else
I think
was
so. Anything interesting?
just random comments. It was
Oh,
mostly
okay.
like
How to help you with that.
memes and shit posts. So
Those are always fun.
my type of thing.
Cool. Well, that's good. Look
Oh
at
yeah,
this.
and
We're-
also misinterpretations will also be an
and me.
So.
That's right. Very excited to meet you, Marin. It's going to be a good
Oh
time.
no, Becca's saying I missed a super chat. Let me scroll. I'm looking for it. Becca, I don't see it. Wait, got it. Becca Eller for $4.99. Do we think Moses' Cushite wife is a second wife or leftovers from stories getting squished together? It bugs me.
Oh, that's interesting. And I don't know where the scholarly consensus is on this. I'm sorry you missed Dan. He might have had something on this. I think
Look,
it's
Jubilees has some stuff to say about her.
that's true. Yes. That's true. You should go check that out.
I don't know if you consider that to be authoritative or worth your salt, but
Well,
go read Jubilees. It's got some stuff in
Book
there
of
about it.
Jubilees. So these are
Okay.
very intentional readers of the scriptures, writing in the early 2nd century BCE about about their take on the biblical texts. So that's probably, yes, it's true that it's maddening when that happens, but it's also fun when that happens. It's like a choose your own adventure. But,
yeah, and that means if there's no consensus, then there's a wide open door to try to write something to get consensus.
That's right. That's right. So always work to be done, which is good. So did we? Oh no, yeah, you did do that one. Okay, so cool. We're gonna shut down after 2 hours, which
Fine.
is amazing for us. I think very short, which is good. Vish, we're on Dapper's channel tomorrow morning. Yes, we are. That is true. So Budget Scripture Saturday is tomorrow evening. Now I may have to push it back, the start time, from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock Pacific tomorrow, because I also am recording some stuff with Dr. Josh and with Maya Adkisson for a video that we're going to put out later. So just keep your eyes open for the stream when it shows up tomorrow. And in an hour, and I have everybody redirecting from this stream to Dapper Dinosaur's alternative channel, Top Hats Off,
Right.
where
You're gonna be gaming.
yeah, we're gaming. I think it's episode 3 of Star Trek Endurance on
Nice.
on Top Hats Off. Starts in an hour.
May
like I
all
said,
of your
so-
rolls be nat 20s.
Yeah.
Like I've left my D20 where it's sat on my desk because it is so rare for me to roll a 20 that I'm like, I just want to stare at it for a few hours so that I can like.
Oh. I've never
Yeah.
actually physically rolled.
We gotta get you
D20
some math
to-
rocks, Kip.
because yes, it's true. I am new to the whole RPG thing. This is the second ever RPG that I've ever played. The first one was with Dapper, and it was just one shot. So it's fun. It's
Yeah,
pretty
we
cool.
gotta get you some
I'm
math
having a good time.
rocks. Yeah, for
math
sure.
rocks. Awesome.
Mhm.
Cool.
They're fun. The clackies, the plastic clackies, man. There's just something gratifying about
It sounds good, right?
good stuff.
Makes good clicky
Mhm.
clacky sounds. You got anything else?
Yeah, clacky. No, that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, have a great evening, everyone, and be safe and enjoy yourselves. And until tomorrow, well, I guess or later tonight, if you should totally go and watch Dapper's game. So go watch that. And until then, Ha Tikva.